What's cracking, YouTube? Welcome back to Myers two-stroke RC Garage. And today, guys, we're going to be going over the current setup because I've changed the setup for the Taylor RC 71 Supreme. And from my last video, I think it was my last video, my last run video, anyways. It completely, I lost the shock and it basically destroyed the shock. So I went ahead and bought the bullet. Or bit the bullet and got me a pair of IRC big bore shocks. So I kind of wanted to go over that and the setup I had going on with it, and then I wanted to touch on the gears, the wheelie bar, and all the different adjustments that I got going on there. So why don't I get you guys closer down here to the bench, and we will go from there. All right, guys, I got you down here closer to the bench, or in my hand, or whatever you want to call it. But I got the IRC big bore shocks put in, and I just kind of wanted to touch on a few things about them. First off, I had to modify my shock tower to accept the IRC big bore shocks, and what I also had to do is I had to cut one of those. There's two little flaps here, you know, or whatever, that have a bolt hole that go through them, and I just cut one of them off. You know, I cut the back one off on both sides, and that I was able to, you know, get the shocks in there. And then they come with a little bushing deal, and I put new bolts in, and then I put a rubber grommet back here to tighten up, you know, all the slack. And then of course I got my limiting straps and everything. And so that's kind of how, you know, how I got it, you know, mechanically installed. And then once I got them installed, and I'm gonna show you here real quick. But once I got them installed, these are the springs that come on them, you know, stock. And what I have had to do is I've had to completely bottom out the stops, and then it's still pretty easy for the suspension to, you know, bump here or sag or whatever. And what I'm trying to get at there is when I get on the throttle, what I have a feeling is going to happen is the suspension is going to just sag to the bottom, and we're not going to get much wheelie. So I made a community post yesterday, and a couple guys or a couple people on there commented that I'm going to need the black springs, you know, for sure. So right now I got it set up, you know, to where I can drive it, and I want to test it out and see what it's like, you know, with these Genesis super spikes on there. So I want to test it out, see what it's like with that. And then, you know, once the springs come, we will, you know, put the heavier springs in it. And then that brings me to, okay, so that brings me to shock oil. And what I did was I read the description, you know, on Detroit Performance. You know, you click on the part and you can read a description about it. And what it says in there is first of all, these shocks do not come filled with oil when you buy them. You have to put your own shock oil in them. And it tells you, you know, what suggested weights are in there, you know, so, depending on your driving style. And what I went with is I went with 50 weight for the rear shocks. And that, with the combination of the heavier black springs, I think that's going to get me where I want. But like I said, I'm going to go ahead and test it like this and see what it's like this and all that stuff. So, and then another thing I wanted to go over is another big must, I think. You know, I've learned a lesson, you know, tearing up dog bones and all that stuff. But these limit straps, these, what are they? I can't remember the name right off the top of my head, but Galante, they're Galante limit straps. But in my opinion, those are a must. And what they do is they keep your shock from overextending, you know, when you're going over bumps, or when you're on the throttle, or whatever the situation may be, but it keeps the shock from overextending. And when my shock failed in my last run video, what I actually think is, I'm just gonna, here, I'll just show you pictures or a view of it, but my camera's not gonna focus. There, it focused. But you can see the threads in there. I mean, it's, you know, it is beating on something. You can see something was beating the crap out. I still to this day don't know what it was beating on. Maybe it was beating on the control arm or something like that. I don't know. But what happened, and what I honestly believe is that packing or whatever you want to call it, it just worked itself loose, and then the shock popped out, and that's, you know, ultimately what we ended up with. And it, you know, I didn't notice it right away, and that was the aftermath of it. So that's kind of the deal on that. And you know, but I wanted to go back to these limit straps, and basically what I wanted to say, keep going on to say is that they limit your shock and how much travel it can return. And I really think these are a must. They really help you set up your suspension. And right now I have mine just under level, and that's where I like mine. And you know, make sure, yep. And you can see how easily this thing rolls. I mean, it just freewheels. It just freewheels. So there's no resistance at all. So that's what I'm looking for when I'm doing this. Let's see what else we got. Okay, now we got the gear ratio. And what we have is 2846 gears. And I went with 2846s because I was reading through the manual. In the manual, I can't remember, I'll get confused with all the gear sizes because they're not back-to-back gears. They skip a few teeth. But the reason I went with the 2846s is because of these right here. I didn't go with the tallest gears is because I knew I was going to be running these 195 super spikes, and these I add 2 gear ratios by themselves. So that's why I went with the 2846s. And you know, when I do put the BRPs on, the BRP super spikes, you know, them being standard height, it does seem kind of like it's a little bit short on gear, to me anyways. But anyways, we're gonna see what it's like with this, and I imagine it's gonna be all nice. And I want to get some top speed runs and all that stuff. I meant to get a top speed run in, I guess, the last run video, but I forgot to turn my GPS off when I left the fairgrounds, and it was riding in the Danger Ranger. And so I don't know if I got a correct speed reading. It said 61, but I don't know if that's correct for the machine. So I'm gonna go back, and we're gonna do some speed runs and do an actual GPS tracking, or tracking, or whatever you want to call it. But we're gonna do a speed run on it. So let me see what else is what I wanting to go over. Yeah, the next thing I was wanting to go over is my adjustments for my wheelie bar. And what I'm using here, this is a standard turnbuckle. I think it's the standard turnbuckle just for the front on my FT, the ones that, you know, that those Fonzie ones replaced. So that's what I think, if I remember right. With my brain injury, it's so hard for me to remember. Everything runs together, but I'm pretty sure that is exactly what that is. I broke one. I had 2 of them, and I broke one, so that's why I'm pretty sure that's what it is. But, and also besides, you know, how beefy it is. But what I'm getting at is, what I wanted to get at is the adjustments that I have on my wheelie bar. Okay, so not only can I turn this and extend and shorten the turnbuckle, but okay, so you can mount the turnbuckle on top of your carbon fiber plate or below your carbon fiber plate. And then you can also take this bracket and you can flip it to where this bolt hole is in the front, or like I have it, max up. This is the max up position. The turnbuckle is all the way turned in, and I have the turnbuckle mounted on the top with the bracket flipped and the hole clear to the back. So this is the maximum, you know, that I've come up with for setup for rake on the wheelie bar. And with the suspension so soft, I mean, that's what it's really missing. So when I get the stiffer springs, I'm definitely going to have to lower this wheelie bar, or it's going to be uncontrollable. And I had a guy comment on one of my last videos, or a subscriber. I don't know who he was, or who they were. I don't even know if it was a dude. But anyways, somebody was commenting, you know, why don't you, you know, just hold it pinned wide open. And with the amount of the amount of power and intensity this engine has, you can't do that. If you do that, it'll kick out sideways, and it will barrel roll for days, man. It just, you gotta be, I guess you gotta learn throttle control. And I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure I had somebody comment on that too, that this 71 is kind of gonna teach me some throttle control. And In all actuality, that's exactly, you know, what it is. This thing's got so much power. It's unbelievable, guys. It is truly unbelievable. So let me see if there's anything else I wanted to go over. So yeah, I guess this is gonna do it for today's video. That takes care of all the stuff I wanted to go over, but that's how I have it set up to run, and I'm, you know, gonna make a run video of it set up, and then when the springs come, I'll redo the springs, and then, you know, we'll test that setup. So yeah, that's gonna do it for today's video, guys. You know what to do, and we will see you in the next one.